I definitely had a cry to Ezra that night because it just felt a little bit overwhelming. And I actually yelled out loud. I was like, whoa! I wet the bed. We've technically started producing colostrum. Hello friends, and welcome to my second trimester recap. I'm so excited for this video. I did a first trimester recap where I basically just vlogged every now and then throughout my entire first 12 weeks of pregnancy. And so I thought that it would be really fun to do the second trimester recap in a similar sort of structure. It is currently the 9th of January and I am in my 17th week of pregnancy. This is what the bump looks like at the moment. It's definitely starting to get a lot bigger. I'm noticing that it's in the way every now and then as well. Like, it's the perfect height for our kitchen benches. I know I still have over halfway to go, but I just cannot believe how much we've already grown. Life is really good. We've just wrapped up the holiday season, and over the past few weeks my husband and I had a lot of people in town staying in our home with us, and so I haven't really caught you guys up. I have, however, been writing down my symptoms throughout my pregnancy week by week, and so I thought that maybe we could sit down and discuss it. Things have been so different for me in my second trimester compared to my first. Thankfully, I am not struggling with nausea as much as I was. It still can come on, I find, if I let myself get too hungry or if I go too long in between meals, but for the most part I do think that it has subsided, which I'm so grateful for, because nausea is not fun at all, and pregnancy nausea I feel is so different to any other type of sickness. I'm very thankful to be on my way out of that one. In week 13 my food aversions really started to die down a bit. If you didn't watch my first trimester recap, I struggled with the most intense food aversions all throughout my first trimester. There was about a 10-week period where I could not even think of stomaching any food. Nothing sounded good to me. I would gag at even the thought of eating anything. I didn't cook for probably about 2 months. It was something that I really struggled with, and so I was really grateful when those started to die down a bit. I still experience a few here and there, but I have noticed that I'm starting to eat a lot healthier. I'm able to stand and cook. The thought of food does not gross me out anymore, which is such a blessing, and it's getting better week by week as well, so I'm super happy about that. In week 14 I started feeling a lot of twinges here and there in my womb, and I couldn't tell what it was. I didn't know if it was the baby or whether it was just things moving around and stretching, but I was feeling so many things here and there that really made me question, am I feeling my baby kick right now? Week 14 was also the first time that I felt bubbles, but I actually wrote here that I couldn't tell if it was digestion or not. It's such a bizarre feeling, and I've heard quite a lot of other pregnant women describe those first few movements as though it was bubbles and they couldn't tell whether or not it was digestion, which led me to believe that I was probably feeling our baby move, but I obviously couldn't tell for certain. Moving on to week 15, the first thing that I wrote is lots of twinges, so the sensations that I was feeling became more frequent. And then on Christmas Day my husband and I were sitting in church, and that was the first time that I actually felt butterflies. So it changed from bubbles to butterflies, and that was such a crazy feeling. My husband's family was there as well, and after the service I was like, oh my gosh, it was so cool to feel. I also wrote here that in my 15th week of pregnancy I had my first Charlie's horse cramp. It was described in my pregnancy app as normal, but yeah, it just came on all of a sudden and I was like, whoa. So that was interesting. In week 16, which was last week, we had a very exciting few days. My husband Ezra felt the baby roll in my belly, which was so cool. Again, I had felt some movements here and there. I still couldn't 100% tell if it was the baby or not, but then we were lying down in bed one morning and I was on my back and I could have sworn that I felt what I can only describe as the baby rolling, and so my husband put his hand on my belly and we felt the baby roll again, and we both just looked at each other and we were like, oh. It was so crazy. It was such a wild feeling and so exciting as well that my husband was able to feel it. Oh my gosh, it was just so surreal. Also in week 16, what I've got written here is that I started feeling heartburn or throat burn. It was like this weird acid reflux feeling. It only comes on every now and then, and I spoke to my mum about it, and she said that there are some foods that can trigger acid reflux, especially in pregnancy. So I'm really just on the lookout for potential triggers with anything that I'm eating. And then moving on to week 17, which is where we are now, Ezra and I were able to feel the first kick, which we just have no words for. I was lying on the couch last night and we were just chatting, and all of a sudden I really felt a proper, like, it was more than butterflies or rolling or bubbles. It was really like a forceful kick, and I actually yelled out loud. I was like, whoa! And of course my husband came over straight away and he put his hand on my belly, and a few minutes later he felt one too. We just looked at each other with the most shocked look on our faces. It was so cool, and so I'm definitely waiting to feel more of them. I love feeling any movements in my belly. At our 12-week scan, the lady who was doing our ultrasound mentioned that I had an anterior placenta, so it's on the front. That means that it can take a little while longer to feel movements and kicks and stuff like that, but she said that I would likely start feeling them around 18 weeks to 20 weeks, and so the fact that I'm feeling them now is just such a blessing. Oh my gosh, I can't even explain how surreal it feels. I think that is the word that I would use to describe it, is it just feels surreal in the best possible way. Something else that I have noticed is I, over the past few days, have really started to feel things shifting in my body. There's been a little bit of discomfort, I guess, in my hips and my pelvis, and I can really feel things just starting to make room for what's to come. I can feel my body changing day by day at this point, and that's really cool to see. I've been getting this one really weird cramp. It almost feels like a pinched nerve, and it's in my left bum cheek. It's such a weird place for it to be. It will come on so suddenly, like I'll be walking and all of a sudden it's like a pinch. I also have written here that both Ezra and I think that I have popped now. I've heard so many women say that overnight all of a sudden they just had a belly, and I really feel as though that's what's happened to me as well. This week I've just woken up and I really have a belly now, which I love. It's so incredible to see my body changing, and my belly just feels so firm, like I can feel my womb and our baby right there, and it's so cool. It's the best feeling. All in all, things I believe are progressing as they should. My pregnancy app is also very spot on with how I'm feeling that week, which I love. It makes me feel so normal when I'm experiencing these symptoms. I'll put a little screenshot of the one that I have up on the screen here, but yeah, that has been so helpful. My husband and I are still yet to announce on social media. We have now finally told most of our friends. I actually have a list of people that I want to tell just before we make it public, and there are 2 more people on the list. So I'm currently in the process of trying to organize FaceTimes with them because they are both interstate, but once we've done that we can finally share, and I'm so excited to be able to talk about it, to be able to have it out in the open and discuss how excited we are and just everything that comes along with pregnancy in general. I think it's the most life-changing event that I was gonna say a woman can go through, but honestly a man as well. I want to give some credit to men, especially my husband, because this has been a really big transitional period for him as well. And I think a lot of the time we only talk about how pregnancy can affect a woman, but my husband's life is changing so quickly too. He has just done such a darling job of taking care of me, and so yeah, I just wanted to give that a little mention. Pregnancy is the most incredible experience. Even the symptoms that people would typically describe as not so nice, like the nausea or the food aversions or anything like that, I still am truly just so grateful for it all. We actually went and did our little announcement photo shoot the other day. I just wanted to get a few photos and videos to document this season of life, and we were able to get some really sweet ones. We also took a few Polaroids. These are ones that we took at home before we left, and then these are some that we took at the beach as well, and I just love them so much. I'm really grateful to have these.
Let me feel. What's better in the world than feeling your own child kick on your wife's belly and quick it? You'll come to know that about me, baby. I just love cricket. What was that?
Oh,
I felt that right here.
there's a little one. Are you being so cute? What are you doing? We're all trying to feel the baby. Hello friends, I am now in my 19th week of pregnancy. We are almost halfway and we have our anatomy scan coming up in a few days, which is so exciting. I wanted to give you a quick little update. This is the bump so far. I love it so much. It is such a joy. Just a quick little update as to how the last week or two have been for us. Basically, very good is all I have to say. I really feel like I'm starting to come into that time during your second trimester where everybody starts talking about how blissful it is and you start getting your energy back. You're not feeling as sick anymore. The nausea that I was experiencing has really started to subside, and I feel like it really started getting better in weeks 17 to 18. That's when I stopped wearing my seasick bands and I felt like I could part from them, so that has been such a relief. Even just the fact that we are able to leave the house without me being scared that I'm going to need to find somewhere to be sick. It's just so lovely and I'm really trying to soak up and enjoy every single minute of it. Aside from that, I am finally starting to feel a lot more movement in my belly. It's taken me a long time to be able to differentiate between digestion and our baby moving, so I feel like I'm finally at the point where I can really tell now because the baby is just getting bigger and bigger. They are kicking and moving around in there all the time. It's such a magical feeling when I'm just sitting there and I'll get a kick out of nowhere or even just a movement, and Ez is now being able to feel them a little bit more as well from the outside, so that has been so special. The only other real update that I have is that I'm starting to not sleep very well, I guess. I've woken up at least once or twice a night for the past few months, ever since I found out I was pregnant, always because I need to wee in the middle of the night, but the amount of times I wake up during the night just to like random movements, or like if I have to roll over in bed, I'm really starting to notice the weight that's in my belly, which is so interesting. I've been talking to a lot of my mum friends about sleep during pregnancy as well, and they said that they started feeling very similar around the same time throughout their pregnancy. So it's great to know that I am not alone. One of my friends has offered for me to borrow her pregnancy pillow, so I'm very excited about that. I think that might make sleep a little bit more comfortable. I've heard so many good things about pregnancy pillows, so my fingers are crossed. But I do also think that it's probably my body's natural way of preparing me for what's to come in the newborn season, which is also totally fine. I love how God's designed it so that we can slowly adjust. Anyway, I think that is all of the updates that I have for today. I think the next time that I see you guys will be on my 20-week ultrasound, which I think is coming up in 4 or 5 days. So I'm so excited for that because Ezra and I are finding out the gender of our baby. Oh, it feels so surreal. We have both the entire time felt so strongly that we're having a little girl, but I don't know, as the scan is approaching, I really am starting to be like, oh, it could be a boy. So I'm really excited to see what's in there and be able to name the baby and all of that fun stuff. I can't believe how quickly 20 weeks has come up. I remember when we decided not to do the NIPT test at 10 weeks, thinking that it was such a long wait till 20 to find out the gender, and now it's here already, and I can't believe in that time again I will be 30 weeks. It's going so quickly. Oh my gosh, but we are just so excited. So we just got our 20-week scan done and we found out the gender of our baby, and it sounds so crazy to say this. Do you want to tell them what we're having? Well, they'll already know because they will have seen the gender reveal.
We're having a son.
We are having a little boy. We thought that it would be fun to do the gender cabbage test. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but apparently it's a really clear way of an old wives' tale to find out if you're having a boy or a girl. And now that we know the gender, we thought that it would be fun to see if it was accurate. So we've just boiled a whole bunch of purple cabbage, and what you have to do is get equal parts of the cabbage water and equal parts of mum's mum's urine and put them together. If it turns red/pink,
You're having a boy.
you're having a boy.
If it stays dark, you're having a girl.
Yeah, if it stays the purpley colour. So we're going to test this theory. This is the purple water from the cabbage that we've got already. I'm going to go wee and then we'll mix my urine with the purple cabbage water and we'll see if it changes colour or not. I've just weed into a cup, so we're going to add them together. We'll see if it turns red. Whoa! Oh my god! That worked. So for reference, this is the original purple cabbage water and this is with my urine mixed in as well. So you can see just how red/pinky it went, which is...
But it doesn't even look as light on the camera as it does in real life.
Yeah, that is crazy. Well,
Can confirm, penis.
that is an accurate wives' tale. Wow, I did not expect
Have
that.
a sip and check. Does it say boy?
Gross. Hello friends. I actually cannot remember the last time I updated you, but I am in my 24th week of pregnancy, and so I thought that it was probably time for me to give you guys another little update as to how I'm feeling. Ever since I would say about week 21, my pelvis has definitely gotten a little bit achy. It's almost like I can feel my hips separating and opening more just to allow room for everything to grow. I also noticed that it was getting harder for me to roll from side to side in bed. I could really feel, I would say around week 22, like a weight in my belly as I was moving. Obviously baby is getting heavier and heavier, so it makes sense, but it's just something I guess I didn't expect. Week 22 was also the time where we really started to feel a lot more defined movements. I read this in my pregnancy app as well, but I did think it before I saw it in there, and it's that baby boy definitely has routines of when he's awake and when he's asleep. For example, he is just so active at night, especially. It's always around 7 to 9 p.m. where he is just having a little dance party in my belly. Ezra is able to feel a lot more from the outside, and we can also see movements now. So just over the last few weeks, they have gotten so much bigger, and I'm pretty sure he's going through a growth spurt at the moment where he's just putting on a lot of weight and growing lengthwise as well. My whole entire belly, you can just see it move to one side if he like kicks or punches. I'm not sure what exactly he's doing in there, but it's forceful enough that you can just see it so clearly. He is also kicking my bladder so much. As soon as my bladder fills up with any tiny little amount of liquid, like I won't even need to wee yet, and this boy will just start kicking, and so I'll have to go and empty it, and often it's only a few drops that come out. But wow, that is such a bizarre feeling. In week 23, I have a very funny note here, and it's actually my only note for the week, but I wet the bed. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning to a drizzle down my legs, or to the side of my legs because I was lying on my side. I stopped it immediately, like while I was still asleep, but it was enough to wake me up, definitely, which I thought was so funny because obviously I can't even remember the last time I wet the bed. So that was very interesting and definitely something that I'm attributing to pregnancy. And then in week 24, which is now, I'm actually finding myself getting a lot hungrier than I have been throughout my entire last few months. I feel like up until this point, my appetite has actually been way less than pre-pregnancy, but I am really just finding myself wanting to eat more. And so I find that interesting because his body at this stage, I think, is just putting on fat and weight to prepare him for the outside world when he gets here. And so I've really noticed a shift in my appetite. I have also felt more kicks kind of up higher on my belly. For the last few weeks, they've been quite low and around this area, but just this week there have been lots up here, or even some on the side as well. I wouldn't say they're quite at my ribs yet, but they're definitely getting there. That's pretty much it in terms of the updates that I've written down in my notes. The last ultrasound that we got, I was 20 weeks. It was our anatomy scan, so that was where we found out that he was a boy. That was such a special day. But every single ultrasound that we go to, the ultrasound tech is actually surprised at just how active he is. Hang on, I just realized that we had another ultrasound after the anatomy scan. So that was just at like a little specialist clinic. I think I was about 21.5 weeks. And while we were there, he was doing flips in my belly and like pressing hard up against the sides and everything. And while the lady had the probe on on my belly and we were watching him be just so active on the screen, I actually couldn't really feel it, which is wild. So it makes me wonder how much he's moving around that I don't feel. It's just all so special to think about. Hi there friends. I am currently in my 26th week of pregnancy, which means that we are almost out of the second trimester and into the third. Not quite, but we are getting close. So I thought that it was time for another little update. Got my little best friend here. He is so obsessed with me and the bump and everything at the moment, and I think he really knows that things are going to change soon. He follows me everywhere, even to the bathroom, in the shower. He always wants to be close to me. Like just before, I was over on that couch right over here and he was over here, but then came over to me, so I moved to this couch just to test it, and then he got up from there and came over to me again. So he just never leaves me alone, and it's quite sweet actually. I feel like the past few weeks I've been pretty emotional as well, and every single time I'm upset or I cry, he just comes over straight away. Like last night he was lying here playing with his toys and I started crying just because I was overwhelmed at something. I can't even remember what it was, and he got straight up and came over and gave me a cuddle, and it was so sweet. He's such a sweet boy, aren't you darling? Yeah, you're so cute. You're gonna be the best big brother. Anyway, in terms of the updates that I've written down on my phone, in week 25 I started noticing these kind of like little yellow crystals on my nipples and in the bras that I was wearing. I had no idea what they were, but didn't think anything of it really. And then I was chatting to a friend at a new mothers group that I went to just a few days ago, and she is the same gestation of weeks that I am. She was talking about how her breasts are leaking colostrum a little bit and it's causing the little yellow crystals to form in her bra once they dry. And so I realized that's what it is, and I spoke to my mum about it and she confirmed it as well. So we've technically started producing colostrum, which is so exciting. Oh my goodness, it is so surreal that my body is creating that and just doing this without me even thinking about it, and it's so special. So that's pretty much the only note that I have from last week. And then moving into week 26, which is now, I actually looked down at my nipple the other day and it was wet. It was like sticky, like glazy. I can't explain it. It was just so incredible to see. I was like, Ezra, look at this. This week has also been the first time that I've felt baby move while I'm standing up. Usually I can only feel him when I'm sitting or lying down, and he just doesn't stop wriggling around. So I am constantly feeling his movements. But the other day I was in the kitchen cooking and I felt him kick around while I was standing up, which was really cool. I also have a note here that I had a really intense spout of nausea at night. It came on super randomly. I have no idea what caused it, but it felt like my first trimester all over again, and I had to have a bath. It felt just so yucky, and I actually said to Ez, I was like, man, I don't know how I got through the first trimester, because I feel like you forget how intense the nausea can be. But yeah, it came on randomly again the other day, so that was weird, but thankfully I haven't had anything since that, and I'm hoping that I won't have it again. That is pretty much all of my updates so far anyway. I'll keep vlogging until I'm in the third trimester, which I think is 28 weeks. But yeah, aside from that, my husband and I decided pretty early on in our pregnancy that we were going to try and go through the public health system. We just thought instead of hiring a private doula, we would try and have a home birth with a public midwife. We got into a program called the Midwifery Group Practice Program, which means that I have continuity of care with one midwife basically all throughout the second half of my pregnancy, which means that through the public health system they allow you to have a home birth. So that has been such a blessing. But we had the midwife that I've been assigned come over to our house the other day and just run us through basically everything that was going to happen with the home birth. She talked to us about so much and just gave us so much information about the program. She told us what sort of supplies they'll bring, the type of support that they will be able to provide, and we were pretty happy with that and very grateful that we could have the appointment in our own comfy space. Like, we just had it in the living room right here instead of having to travel out to a hospital. That was such a blessing. It just made us both feel so calm and happy to be able to have it in our home. So we feel very blessed. test. This here is basically all of the paperwork that she gave us. There's quite a lot to go through. I've also been assigned some blood tests that I'll go and get next week just to check my platelet count, my iron, my vitamin D, that sort of thing, so that the midwives can make sure they bring absolutely everything that we may or may not need to the home birth. Other than that, I'm opting out of the glucose test that you do during pregnancy. I was planning on opting out of it beforehand, but when my midwife was here, she actually explained that it's quite outdated, and for a lot of people it actually isn't accurate anymore, especially with our lifestyle. We don't eat a lot of refined sugar or anything anyway, and so drinking that glucose drink would make me spike incredibly, and it would look probably like I had gestational diabetes on the test, even though I don't, and I have no symptoms of it. So she was very supportive of my decision to opt out of that, which I really appreciated. But yeah, we are getting closer and closer every single day to meeting this little boy. To be honest, it's kind of all starting to really set in for me. Obviously, I've known from the start that I have to give birth, but really hearing the midwife talk about like the tools that they'll bring, they're bringing oxygen, adrenaline, all of that sort of stuff, just in case we need it during the birth. I don't know, it just kind of put everything into perspective for me, and I definitely had a cry to Ezra that night because it just felt a little bit overwhelming, if I'm completely honest. I have explained this before, but I've never had a fear of birth or anything like that, but the more that we kind of like inch closer to it, the more real it becomes. I'm like, oh, I have to get this baby out, and I'm not scared, but I guess it's just becoming a lot more real now, and so that's been an emotion that I've had to deal with the past few days, but we're working through it. My midwife was so sweet, and she actually informed me that nowadays statistics show that it is actually safer now to give birth at home than it is to give birth in a hospital. So that was a very reassuring piece of information as well, especially hearing it from a Western medical professional that's in the public health system. It was just super nice to hear. So we're definitely continuing to feel great about our choice. We talked about setting up the birth pool and where we were going to do that, the sort of equipment that Ezra and I will need to get, just like towels, a hose to be able to fill up the pool, tarps, that sort of thing. And it is just all very exciting and becoming very real. So I think that's my update for the week, but I'll chat to you again before we are in the 3rd trimester. Hi there friends. I am currently in my 28th week of pregnancy, which means that I am officially out of my 2nd trimester and now into my 3rd, and that sounds so crazy to say. So this will be my final update for this video. I think my last update was fairly recent. I think it was in my 26th week, so I only really have week 27 to go over, but I do have a few notes. In week 27, I feel like I was incredibly emotional, especially at night. I was crying almost every single night just from feeling overwhelmed almost, and that is a very bizarre thing and very unlike me, so I do think that it is or was hormonal. But I noticed that it was almost like when I started to get really tired and my body needed sleep, I just could not handle my emotions like normal, or I don't know, I was just feeling a little bit more overwhelmed than usual, I would say. It is still kind of going on, like if I get a bit too tired, but that was mostly in week 27, which was very odd. I don't know if maybe like my hormones were having a different sort of spike during then, I'm not sure, but I do have that written down. The other note that I have here is that I was starting to break out a little bit. I had a few big blind pimples, which I haven't had since before I got pregnant. I think all throughout my pregnancy, my skin has actually been really, really good. And I remember super early on, before we told anyone that we were pregnant, one of my friends saw me in person and she complimented my skin and said that it was looking so clear. And I was like, because she didn't know that I was pregnant yet. I think I was maybe like 7 or 8 weeks. So yeah, that was a little bit of a shock, just seeing like a sporadic change in my skin. I feel like you can still sort of see a little bit what's been going on, and it doesn't bother me at all, but it's just an observation that I've noticed, which now that I'm thinking about it, with the being upset at night or when I'm tired, feeling a little bit more overwhelmed than usual and breaking out a little bit, it does definitely sound like a hormonal things. So I have no idea what was happening in week 27, but they are the notes that I have written down for them. I'll give you a little bump update. I'll show you the belly. This is it. So it's very much coming along now. It's getting more and more defined every single day. But yeah, definitely big and round now, which I love. The thing that I just cannot fathom is the fact that he's in there. It's just so crazy to me to think that I have our baby in my belly. I just cannot comprehend it or wrap my head around it. We are actually getting a 4D ultrasound next week, which I'm so excited for. I hope that we can get a good picture of his face just to give us like a little inkling as to what he's gonna look like, because right now I just can't even imagine what my husband and I, like our genes are gonna look like together. I don't know, it's such a cool but foreign feeling or thought to have. So I'm excited for that. I will probably end up vlogging it. Anyway, with all of that said, I thought that I would leave the video here. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so grateful to be able to capture exactly what's going on week by week. It's so much fun to have this as a memory to look back on, and I can't wait to show our son when he's older. It's just all so exciting. So I'm grateful that you are here watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!